hell is empty, and all the devils are here.
Welcome to another episode of the Devil's Library. With me tonight, I have got Pike.
Hail, Satan.
And Elijah.
Hail, Satan.
And Mythos.
Yeah, Dagon. Hail Satan.
Not a random quote there by Mythos, because today we are talking about the book Wintertide by Ruthanna Emrys. I'll give you a little bit of introduction about the book before we start. Wintertide is a sequel to H.P. Lovecraft's novella The Shadow over Innsmouth. In that novella, there is a race of amphibious humans called the Deep Ones, who lived in the fictional Atlantic coastal town of Innsmouth in New England. In 1928, following the events of Lovecraft's novella, Innsmouth's inhabitants are rounded up by the United States government and imprisoned in concentration camps in the interior of the country. Standard Lovecraft, difference equals grotesque and evil and must be punished. Emrys's Wintertide, she reframes Lovecraft's xenophobic take on the Deep Ones, presenting them not as inhuman monsters, but as sympathetic members of the human family, equal with the rest of humanity, and instead of Lovecraft's evil cult, Emrys changes their worship of the Mythos entities to a religion known as Aeonism. When Wintertide takes up their story, the captured Deep Ones have been joined by Japanese Americans, who were actually, not fictionally, interred in concentration camps after the attack on Pearl Harbor.
It looks like we have a bit of a 50-50 split
Yes.
in how we feel about the book.
Yeah.
And quite possibly the critics are even divided on what they're critical about. Although I don't know that. We shall find out. Let's start with something nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as someone who has read an awful lot of Lovecraft, especially when I was younger, and has enjoyed the whole kind of mythos and the universe he created, and later on found out that he was a thoroughly unpleasant racist and seen the bigotry in his stories in hindsight. I really enjoyed the take on taking what was his universe, expanding on it, because it's quite a long book, and Lovecraft only ever wrote one thing that would count as a novel, and even that was fairly short. I think The Case of Charles Dexter Ward was the only thing he wrote that counts as a novel. A lot of it is short stories or novellas. So she's taken all of that mythos and expanded on it and actually made it from the point of view of in Lovecraft's view, and I used Lovecraft's words here, the degenerate half-breeds that the fish people were. So in his universe, there's an awful lot, and you mentioned it earlier, Laraj, an awful lot of creatures that are sort of semi-human or non-human, and they are all sort of treated as disgusting, filthy people who just want to bring about the downfall of all of humankind by calling on elder gods. It kind of wasn't obvious to younger me at the time when I read it, but like looking at it now, yes, it is rife with bigotry and racism, all of his writings. It was nice to have someone actually take that, the good parts, the imagination, the mythos, the wild ideas that the good parts of Lovecraft, the idea that humanity is nothing in the greater scheme of the cosmos and will eventually disappear and it won't make much difference, to take all of that and actually turn it into something which is not rife with bigotry.
Yeah, I mean that's what I like about it as well. It's nice to be able to enjoy those kind of like cosmic ideas and settings and races and people without thinking, oh God, this book was written by a fucking massive racist and his fucking massive racism is really, really apparent. And just kind of like redeeming and looking again, not even redeeming, re-examining one of those races that he wrote about in The Shadow over Innsmouth was really nice. It was really good. And I really like the idea of bringing in what happened to Japanese Americans during the Second World War as well, and tying those two things together. So just to make the point, fairly obvious that it wasn't just the Nazis who had concentration camps, it was other people too. Yeah, I thought that was really clever.
So now, the less positive aspects. Come on, hit us. Who didn't like it?
Do we agree that it's a young adult novel? That it's aimed primarily at teenagers?
I can see that.
It did feel like that. It did feel to me. I'm not sure what it's being presented. Is it being sold like that? I don't know.
No, it's certainly not categorised as young adult. No.
Well, we make our...
But I think it's entirely right that it could be seen as that, yeah. I can see why you would think that, Pike, yeah, definitely.
I do read some young adult literature. I'm not automatically critical of that, but this definitely felt like that. And another thing that it felt like to me was fanfiction. I wonder if the author dabbled in fanfiction because there are a lot of moments here, a lot of fanfiction tropes, such as, the way the characters are introduced. There aren't a lot of dimensions to each character. They're kind of, this is a main character, this is their group of merry sidekicks, there's this person, you can describe each character in one sentence. They represent some particular idea, and you see that a lot in fanfiction because there just isn't enough space to do that. But in a novel this size, I didn't think that was a great thing. Also, the way people have to find something for themselves to do, like jobs or something at the end that gets resolved, and some relationships have to get resolved. There have to always be running some kind of like strands of romance. I see that both in fanfiction and in young adult literature. You always have to have those storylines built in, and they felt a little artificial to me here.
I do take your point about the second one, the romance. However, I would disagree with you very strongly about the protagonist being one-dimensional.
Okay.
To me, anyway, I thought her grief and her lack of confidence and her unsureness about how to proceed and her constant questioning of herself. I mean, there's part of the book, one of the... I do think you're right about the sidekick characters, by the way. They aren't very well developed. But one of the sidekicks, whose name is...
Cecile.
Audrey. No, it's not Cecile. Or Celeste. But maybe it should have been. Audrey, it gets revealed, is a member of a race that have got a particularly bad rep. And all the other characters are like, oh, shit, she's... And then somebody, and I can't remember which character it is, I think it might have been Charlie Day, sort of like says, yeah, but that's what the FBI think about the deep ones. So who's really in a position to sort of like judge?
Yeah.
I do agree with you, Pike, that most of the sidekick characters were literally sidekick characters. Or caricatures, like the Dean of the University was a caricature, Dawson was a bit of a caricature. But no, I thought Afra was particularly well developed.
On all the politics and issues of political correctness, for want of a better phrase, she was very deliberate and I did very well. I think she was deliberately trying to be the opposite of what Lovecraft was. Sometimes, I think the only moment where I thought a bit, what? Was when they are discussing childbearing and sort of continuing the race and how they had got to procreate, and then Caleb says, oh yeah, and then if Dawn gets pregnant, she can quit her job. That was the only moment where
I had to put it down at that moment for a second. I'm like, no, I can't do this. This is upsetting me.
This was 1940s America.
Yes. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to be put in historical context. which
I
is
understand that, but
that's not necessarily what the author believes, but that's...
I know. I think she was really trying to actually criticize everything that was wrong with Lovecraft. And for me, I struggled exactly with that point. She was trying too hard. For me, it was just like basically the whole book to me felt like she made a lot of points before she created the plot and everything. What exactly was wrong with Lovecraft? And she covered each of them, and it felt a little bit too straightforward to me. I struggled with like, okay, what is actually new? Because I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Like, if I take somebody's work and I just take what's wrong or what I hate and react to that, that's not really bringing that much newness, you know? It's more reacting, and I felt like that. And I struggled to read it, to finish it, because there were too many characters for my little brain. I couldn't follow them completely. I was getting a little bit sidetracked every time there was a new name. And I didn't connect to her. I don't know why. I couldn't connect to this. I really tried. I tried. But maybe her reaction to what was going on was so different from how I think. Which obviously that book was not meant for me. But do you know what I mean? Like, there was not one situation where she would react in a way I would be like, yeah, okay, I understand why. No, I always had to go like, but why are you questioning this now? There are Russians and you are dealing with this? And I'm like, what the heck? Do you know what I mean? There was a big threat, and it was never actually... That was very weak to me, because that was a threat.
It didn't go anywhere.
It didn't go anywhere. And I was waiting for that to like, okay, that's a fucking threat. Everybody who came close to Russia, or like politically, or being threatened, I come from a country that is fucking very close to Russia. Maybe that's why I'm overreacting or something, but like, that's a fucking threat. Hello?
Yeah, but
I know you're questioning.
I think the point of view here is that, from her point of view, she doesn't give two fucks about Russia or the States or anyone else.
But why was it there then, you know? Like, it didn't really go anywhere.
To
that
kind
was
of present...
really upsetting.
Spectre as an FBI agent is interested in that, and he thinks he can use the marshes. But Mythos is right. I mean, the deep ones, the marshes, the rest of the instruments, and all the other entities, they don't give two fucks about countries.
Oh, but she does. She gets really excited about it. She's not at the beginning, but then once she realizes what the implications could be of the body thieving, that's where she gets very invested.
Yeah, because she's also worried that the Americans are going to use it. She's equally worried that the Americans are going to use it, as well as the fact that the Russians could use it. And it's more to do with, no, this is, in their culture, this is completely verboten. This is like, you do not do this. There are severe penalties, like death, to actually using that kind of magic. So she gets... The way I saw it is she gets very involved because she doesn't want the Russians or the Americans or any other people of the air, i.e. what we would call humans, to use it. And that's why I think it's quite interesting, because I think that the thing here is, it's a question I'd like to ask. How many of us were sort of really into Lovecraft before reading this?
Not really into, but familiar.
I was. I love his work. It took me a few years to understand all the fucking bullshit that was hidden there. I was not really paying attention, but then once you see it, it's everywhere. So I felt a little bit bad. But I still think he created, if we forget about all that absolute disaster of a man, the worlds he created that's a fucking beautiful horror for me.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
dreadful, it's atmospheric, it's I want to go back. And I know this book was not a horror book. I understand, or I hope nobody thinks this was a horror book. Would you agree with me? It wasn't?
It wasn't.
No, I would
It was a
definitely
science
not
fiction,
horror.
weird fiction, right?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
that-
it's
Maybe that's why I struggle, because taking Lovecraft, and I was, I was still in that Lovecraftian dreadfulness, and I was hoping to get like, okay, you get a revenge in his style. Fucking hell, make me fucking shake and, like, fucking spit blood, please. And it was just so kind. That book was so kind. I need to say, it was really nice how people or these beings were trying to be nice to each other and respect each other, and like they build a little family. But for me, I couldn't believe it. It was too pretty. It was very pretty. It was maybe the book was maybe more poetic for me, like as a little piece of poetry. I would give it that. Like, it was pretty. It made me feel good about people, about the goodness in people, and how they can connect and like follow the same good goal that was not greedy or not destructive or whatever. But I just couldn't see the Lovecraft anymore.
I suppose in one way you could look at it as a kind of like thought experiment. What would happen if...
Absolutely, yes.
What would happen
Yeah.
if you took the Lovecraftian roots of something and spun it on its head?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what this is.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think it was you, Lajea, who said you were kind of like annoyed by Afra's kind of like indecision and sort of and constant questioning.
I don't know if I'm saying the right words, what I'm feeling, but I really think if I and my brother, if we were the last two beings of one race, with all these secrets and all that absolute disaster that happened to my race, I would just be going ballistic. I wouldn't be asking anything. I would be going and doing stuff. I'm not even sure if to help my race. I don't know. She was very kind and very slow. It was a slow book for me. I wanted to be like, okay, this is happening. Yeah. Come on.
It wasn't a thriller that you might think it is if you read the back cover first.
Yeah.
No, it's certainly not fast-paced at all. I think for her, a lot of that is down to the fact that she's massively, massively traumatised.
But that would create the engine in me, like, oh, fucking hell.
Yeah,
but we
would
react
it, though,
in a different way.
If you'd been in a concentration camp for 20-odd years and then had to hide your identity because you were still looked down upon, I think that would kind of like drive the spark out of most people. I think
I haven't
that's
been
the way
there,
I saw it. It was
it's
like
a book,
she'd been locked up for a couple of decades in there and seen all her people die, and then finally got out. And
maybe it was trying to be more realistic, but then if you take how they were still getting these night missions into the library, that was so unrealistic to me. I had to actually smile, like, no way, guys, this is a no way. Second time and you are getting in there? Like, what do you mean?
It was very Harry Potter.
So,
yeah, that was a bit
balanced.
Actually, yes, the night
like,
kind of raids.
So I think a book can go a little bit more crazy, and she was really kind. It's a great book. I haven't written a book. I still think it's great. I struggled because maybe of my, I have a hot head. I react in a way maybe it's not healthy. Probably.
It's not
I fear
you,
fucking.
It's the book.
No. I really just think. We need it.
Lydea, just think of her as one of those Ligotti type characters who likes to morosely wander around doing nothing.
I wrote a little note about how I compare it to Ligotti if you want to know. So readers who come to weird fiction for the philosophical unease, right? Of someone like Thomas Ligotti, may find this novel operates in a very different register, where Ligotti strips away comfort and meaning. Wintertide is invested in restoration, belonging, and moral coherence. Which, fair enough. Maybe I was just not expecting that, because I think this book is creating a world where everything is actually very peace-orientated. Everybody says it differently.
Well, I think that the kind of like the dichotomy there is you've got in the two siblings, you've got Afra, who's very much wants to do things quietly and approach things slowly and think about things, and is possibly too indecisive and doesn't actually get much done. And then on the other hand, you've got Caleb, who's like, I'm going to fucking rip everything
Maybe
apart.
I'm Caleb.
Maybe you are. Maybe you are.
I'm Caleb, actually. Hey.
But, by the end of the novel, you know, their own granddad had said to them, look, maybe it's best if the books just stay in the fucking university, because at least they'll look after them. How are you going to look after thousands and thousands of books? So even that doesn't get resolved.
Yeah, and that was so sad. I was hoping for this library to be there, and like... But then they asked, okay, so how are we going to protect, and which books are going to be like separated and secured, and how? Oh, didn't think about that. I just really wanted that library.
I just felt very sorry for Afra all the way through that book. I just thought she was so deeply traumatised by what had happened to her and all she really wanted was a set of people around her who would legitimately share her religion.
Or accept her religion. Yeah. Just accept her as another human, effectively, because the three races that are mentioned in the book are the people of the air, who are short-lived and what we would call humans, so us. And then the people of the deep, who then they kind of start out as humans, and then it comes to the point where they evolve or they transmute into people that then go and live in the water and live for an awfully long time.
Which is fucking cool, by the way.
Yep, and then there's the people of the rock, the mad ones who kind of like live under the earth and are completely, insanely kind of violent and unsteady and unreliable.
Can I just ask, when you are saying it, are we sure that these people of the rock or whatever, are we sure we know that they are actually really bad, or is this a misconception? I never understood.
That was kind of the point. The accepted wisdom of the mythos is that the people of the earth are completely insane and glory in dishing out pain and misery. But like I said earlier, I think it was Charlie Day. Well, I think that's one of the points of the novel. They're kind of like saying, here we are presenting this as a redemption of Lovecraft's work about not judging people. And even the main characters are judging people.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's the point.
Like,
that's not
okay,
kind of
then.
like...
Okay, then.
That's not a failing of the book. That's
so
like
I'm not completely crazy. Okay, good.
No, not at all. I mean, I think they deliberately draws that parallel. She's saying, look, we should not judge the deep ones so badly because it's just their religion. But then even Afra and Caleb are judging the people of the earth badly.
Yeah.
But until one of the other characters says something like, and I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something like, well, you know, that's how the FBI and everybody else looks at you, so maybe we should think again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I think if there's one, the main issue I had with this book is it does really spring out as the first serious novel that the author has written, and that maybe she tried a bit too hard because there are too many themes in there. Right? There's the US government are absolute fucking bastards. There's the Second World War. There's how they treated the Japanese. There's all the Lovecraft mythos. Then there's all, you know. It's just like
10 identical rituals where they sit in a room.
They're quite similar, yeah, but
it's like almost like trying a bit too hard to fit all this in, you know. And it's like just pick a couple of those themes and elaborate on them rather than trying to stuff them all into this book, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the book. And my feeling from it is this is an author with a lot of promise who has put too much subject matter into the first novel. She's obviously got a lot of ideas and has tried to put them all in.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. However, I liked the book. I really enjoyed it. I like her style. And I kind of look forward to seeing what she's going to do next, is the way I feel about it.
Well, there's a precursor short story and there's a sequel. And she's also written other non-Innsmouth related books as well.
People who liked it. I understand you enjoy the fact that you were able to brush against Lovecraftian universe and not cringe, and that's pleasant. What would you say was something that you got from it? For yourself, that was of value.
For me, I saw it, without wanting to sort of touch upon a cliche here, but I saw it in terms of our type of Satanism, to be honest. Everybody thinks Satanists are baby sacrificing, evil, awful people, and we're not. We're just not people who believe in God, basically. And that kind of deliberate reversal of the accepted norms of a particular universe was something that I particularly enjoyed.
Okay, that's very pretty.
Yeah,
That's very pretty.
I kind of got much of the same thing from it in the sense that what she is looking for is acceptance of her race of people and her religion and everything else.
Why are you laughing?
There's a lot of birds being flipped here between two other participants. There's rude gestures being exchanged.
Sorry.
With all my love. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
It is a very pretty feeling
Yes.
that you created with this, associating that with us. Didn't occur to me. So I thought it was pretty, and maybe it's too weak a word.
No, it's right. I knew what you meant. It just made me laugh the way you phrased it.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't mind it. We can laugh at me.
Oh, that's awfully sweet.
Oh,
Oh, diddums. Oh.
Get
Yes.
out
I
of
think
here.
what I'm taking from this chat is that Lithos and I are both evolved emotionally enough to appreciate the underdog story, whereas you two, callous.
I will tell you. You know what is the problem? We are just women. We don't get it.
Yeah, we're not in touch with our feelings.
If it's not about procreating and giving birth to kids, I'm not interested. I don't understand anything else. So
Well, it kind of,
But this was about procreating.
kind of was. Yeah.
yeah, I understood those parts. I understood those lines in the book. Fucking hell.
Can
This
we?
is getting bad.
See, I didn't think Afra was even remotely interested in procreating. That was something that was forced on her by her grandfather, who came from the deep, and all the people in the deep who were kind of her brother was more keen, being the sort of archetypal male character of the time. She wasn't interested. Like I say, she was looking for acceptance and somewhere to live her life the way she wanted to, with people who understood and accepted her. And I saw the same parallel between that and modern Satanism, which is, I don't want everyone to become a Satanist. I'm not really that mad about spreading it all over the world or whatever. Satanism is what Satanism is. I just want us to be accepted for what we are and for people to stop making fucking assumptions. And I saw the parallel in that. It's
That's pretty.
however
That is so sweet.
Oh, God.
So sorry, Lithos.
dear.
Continue. It was very pretty.
Nigeria's nailed the
Weird.
patronisation tonight.
Yeah, she has. She has. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
didn't mean to. I didn't. No.
Oh dear.
I mean, apart from that, what I got from it was, it was entertaining. I don't think it's a deep book, like that explores deep themes. It is what I think she intended
deep
to be, which
ones?
was entertainment. You know, for people who like Lovecraft, a bit of like, here's a bit more Lovecraft and a bit of a different spin on it, and that's the way I read it. And that's the way I thought it would be, and that's the way it was. And I did not look for anything particularly deeper in it, didn't expect anything, and didn't get it. It entertained me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some books can just be,
No, of course not.
know, imaginative entertainment. And I would honestly say Lovecraft is exactly the same. There's nothing particularly deep about Lovecraft. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, there were definite parts of the novel that were quite clearly spinning their wheels quite a bit. The bits with fucking off to the library every night was getting a bit trying. But like Mythos says, this is not something... the premise of this book is, like I said earlier, it's a thought experiment. What would happen if we took the situation as real but turned the perspective on its head and based on that presumption? But going back to this idea of the procreation thing, I thought that was quite well handled. Her grandfather and the rest of the elders were saying to her, look, you've got to procreate because we've got to keep our race going. We've got to keep, we don't want to die out. And she felt the enormity of that and sort of like said, I'll think about it. But by the end of the novel, she'd come to a kind of like compromise with them where she was going to seek out other people who were maybe kind of like half deep ones or and might be scattered around the country. And I thought that was quite well done.
Semi-fishies.
Semi-fish.
Less deep.
Only one webbed hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only slightly weird eyes or whatever. Yeah, she definitely, that was it. I saw her as the sort of strong character in the end who actually, and it was made clear that in their society, you respect your elders, especially if they've gone into the deep. And she argued with her grandfather. She argued with the archpriest. Well, she kind of like was not as respectful to the archpriest as she should have been. And in the end, she was like Larage has said, she went, well, I'm not going to shag any of these dirty air people just to procreate our race. I'll try and find if there's any others.
What did you make of, I think it was Apra, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was her. There's a moment where it says, or whoever was reading Plato there, and they go, oh, Plato says children should be brought up by the state.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where did that come from? Like
That
it was a
I
bit
didn't
random.
understand.
That was a bit random.
It was. Because they never came back to that, and I don't know, like, yeah. It takes a village to raise a child, which is not the same, but like...
I think it comes back to, what I was saying about she was trying to fit too many things in.
Right.
Yeah. And this is what I think, like, if we compare it in a way to Annihilation, I think if she made like a trilogy or more books that will go deeper and slowly like introduce these worlds and all the conflicts, I think I would have enjoyed it much more. Or make it shorter and just like get rid of some of that. Because for one book, it was too much. I was able to follow, but it was a little bit like, I would like to linger on this little conflict more, and she already went somewhere else. And I'm like, well, okay, are we coming back to that? And we didn't. So, you know what I mean? But yeah, like Annihilation, like the descent to that was slow, and that worked. It was.
Yeah, Annihilation gave up its secrets slowly and carefully.
Yeah.
Whereas this book tends to go and just go bleh, and there they all are. And you've got
for all that was going on, I think that would have worked. More books, probably. Shorter.
Yeah, but I think that might be the fault of whoever edited it rather than...
Okay, yeah. Editors!
I wonder if it's the editor or the author, but my main complaint was the writing itself. So I found it hard to read because of the writing. It reads like somebody using one of those programs where you write and then you can click on the word and it gives you synonyms and then you select a synonym. Because there is a very wide, very rich vocabulary, but it's sometimes misused. Sometimes it's the way it's used is not how it's used in in normal speech. And then there is occasionally a word will crop up. Like there's a point where a word sojourn as a verb crops up. And then it happens again a couple of times in one paragraph. And then it's never seen again. So it's like the way those words are used as well felt a little artificial to me.
Yeah.
I did have to get the dictionary out on more than one occasion. But I think this was actually a reflection of Lovecraft's style in some ways, because he was heavy on the weird words that, what the fuck is that? And just chucking in words that weren't in common usage. Had anyone ever heard of Eldritch before or after Lovecraft? There's kind of like, so I saw that kind of as a deliberate using certain Lovecraftian tropes in the writing. I could be wrong. I think it's probably more likely that you're right on that front, Mike.
I a couple of times I did shout at the book. I was like, you can't say that. That's not... Where it's like... I don't know. I can give you an example of some sort. Where it says, for example, I delivered Audrey to her dorm just before curfew, hoping that I appeared a reasonable facsimile for a chaperone. But you can't use the word facsimile that way. Facsimile is a copy. Or, say, another one where she says... Nico met us, found the aspirin, opined that we illustrated every possible reason to avoid practicing magic, and pro forma invited Audrey to sleep in our room again. I understand what she's saying, but you don't use the word pro forma in that. It doesn't. I don't think that collocation exists.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It doesn't. Sometimes language, can be used that way. You mess with it for creative purposes, but it was in such sort of run-of-the-mill sentences that it felt more like a mistake.
So yeah, it kind of like jarred you out of the story.
Yeah, it did for me.
That's valid. I mean, that's valid criticism. I think people.
Yeah.
An author's word choice is often something that can jar me out of a book as well. I think you're right about the pro forma thing, but I think you're wrong about the facsimile thing.
Okay.
I've seen other authors use that phrase a lot of times. And even if the word doesn't have its literal meaning.
To mean replacement rather than replica.
Or as a stand-in to sort of like just indicate. I mean, sometimes particularly when a novel is sort of like written in first person, I don't think we can assume that all first person characters are as eloquent as Hubert Humphrey and Lolita. Maybe they're not being taught very well. Maybe they're using the wrong words and the author's deliberately making the wrong words. I don't know. Maybe that's just an excuse I've just made up on the spur of the moment. Who knows? Probably that last one.
I think the stylistic choices, I did not have any problem with her writing style. I quite enjoyed it. But I see what you're saying, because that's a very personal thing. And it's like one of the issues I had with Rosemary's Baby is I thought his writing style was terrible. I did not like it at all. Now, a lot of people disagree with me. I think that's where it's very personal, and an author's writing style can put you... It didn't put me off, but I can see why it would put you off. Yes.
And it was the opposite of Rosemary's Baby, right? The language there was very bare bones, whereas here it's quite verbose.
Yeah. I think the language choices and the word choices in Rosemary's Baby, as we said at the time, were used because he envisaged it when he started writing it as a screenplay or something for the theatre or something like that. Whereas I think the word choices in this were faulty at times because the author was trying, as Lithos said, to kind of like emulate that kind of like Lovecraftian over verbosity, that kind of like over description, that kind of like what Ray Bradbury used to call purple prose. You know, when it's just too much.
Another young adult fiction trope is where every sidekick gets some kind of secret powers that they develop.
Yes.
develop.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, there is certainly something to be said that it is a type of fanfic. It's a type of fanfic to Lovecraft, yes.
Oh, that's right. I haven't thought about it that way, but of course.
That's what I took from it. You know, this is a Lovecraft fandom thing, and this is, yeah. I think I'm going to enjoy reading it, and I did. Just taking it as that, literally just as that. This is the Lovecraft universe expanded and looked at from a different direction by a completely different author. Hell, give me more Lovecraft stuff of this type. I'll lap it up.
There's a whole subsection or subgenre of writers that do Lovecraftian stuff, which by that definition are also fan fiction writers. And, you know, I'm talking about fairly well established and well respected authors. Clark Ashton Smith, August Deleuze, Ramsey Campbell, Thomas Ligotti, you know, they're all Lovecraftian in origin.
Nothing compares to Ligotti, I'm sorry.
I've never heard of this Thomas Ligotti. How can I find out more about his
Well,
writing?
Okay, say no more. Aha. Okay. How much time do we have? No, okay.
Perhaps there is a podcast somewhere I could listen to.
Yes, you might find it if you scroll down.
scroll down the page, there's lots. I don't necessarily have an issue with the idea of something being fan fiction as such. I think I used to have all kinds of preconceptions about what it is, but I think there's a difference between somebody knocking out 200 pages of shit on Wattpad and, you know, somebody making a conscious effort to sort of like address a particular point.
I was a voracious reader of fan fiction, and I would print it in massive stacks that are still at my parents' house. And I will tell you that the best stuff came in like 30 chapter series that was perfectly set in a specific period and was very well written.
Did you write it, Pike?
I wrote some. It wasn't good.
Next time we are
People
reading
just kill each
Pikes.
other.
I mean, if it was proper fanfic, you'd have to have Dagon banging Niall Thotep or something like that.
Yeah.
I think in this type of book they would be holding hands.
Would make me happy. Maybe that's what I was missing. Fucking hell. I'm gonna jump out of this window
Maybe
soon.
that's what you'll find in the second part of his series. You can update
Oh,
it.
right, okay.
Okay.
This is
I'm saying nothing.
the sexy sequel.
I'm not going to say anything, but I wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah, okay.
I was interested in what all of your thoughts were on using the plight of the Japanese American people as a kind of like literary device to sort of introduce the ideas of Afa and Caleb being imprisoned as well.
I think it was meant well, but because of how little time it was given, you know, because of how sort of secondary it was to the main story, it felt a little bit like it was used as a tool, which to me felt a little disrespectful. But, you know, it's important to talk about. It was talking about it.
This is why I think that could have been one book just about that, because I think it's really not often talked about, which is sad. I would like to know more. It was a very refreshing... I don't get to see it in many books. Maybe I'm not reading books about that. That's also true. Fair enough. But it could be one book just about that, really. It was a little bit lost for me. I needed to actually really be trying to hold those thoughts somewhere while other things were happening. And that's like maybe in the next book she will do...
A more focused...
Yes, because it deserves, like, all of those thoughts could be really nice and good, and she meant it really well, and I think she's very talented, and I will read another book.
I think you both of Librarian and Pike are right that there are too many separate story strands.
Well, so did I. Huh.
Consensus between Satanists? This is unheard of.
That's how the deep ones operate.
Have you body swapped?
Yeah.
with the Trumbull girl.
I loved her.
I was sorry for her. I loved her, but I was so sorry at the end. Like, oh my god, like her body traveled through the world, did stuff, and she doesn't even fucking know anything. That was horrible.
She was a cool character.
Yeah, I liked her.
But not the Yith. What do you mean? Do you like... I mean, I thought the Yith was an absolute shit,
Yeah,
to be honest.
they're not the greatest.
I've read some short stories from Lovecraft, and I played a role-playing game that was set in Lovecraftian universe, but I'm not very closely familiar with his stuff. So that was... I assume that's his thing, and that was new to me, and that was very interesting.
Yeah, the Yith do appear in, I think, a couple of his stories. It did match up with his story, anyway, the way the Yith appeared in this. And there are several stories of his. The thing on the doorstep, where that was the one about the original body swap and the guy who ended up in the mental hospital. Again, kind of like cramming just too much of the different strands of fiction in, along with other things. I think we're all pretty much agreed on that one.
Yeah, I think the whole book could easily have been 2, possibly even 3 separate books.
Yeah, either it should have been going a little bit faster or much slower.
Right, let's do pitchforks then. Pike.
My mother always told me that when you're rating out of 10, you should give 4 points just out of Christian feeling, but since I don't have that, I'll give it a 3.
Oh, I love you, Mum.
Jaya, what about you?
I will go for 4.
Mythos?
I'll give it a 7.5. And I think there is better to come.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the only reason it's not more than that is because I just read it as entertainment. It's just sort of like, yeah, just fun.
And I'll give it a 7 as well. I thought it was good escapism, and I really liked the idea of bigging up the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our take on Wintertide. Right, who's next?
Me?
Oh,
Ha!
what are we reading?
I have.
Second part of Winter.
Play Nice by Rachel Harrison, which promises to be a
Yay.
haunted house type story. So we're back on horror. It's been well reviewed, so I'm hoping that we all enjoy it.
Is it the first time read?
Yes.
It's the
For all
first
of
time
us?
read, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Have you read other stuff by the author?
No.
I think I
think
have.
I have as well.
All right.
That's it from us. I've been Laraj. Hail Satan.
I've been Laraj, hail I've been Pike, hail Satan.
Fucking body swappers. Lyjaya.
I've been the mad one. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.